Previously on review. King's Knight was released in 1989, right? How many more years do I have to wait before Final Fantasy becomes a thing? More to the point, how many more years do I have to wait before Final Fantasy becomes a thing on the Super Nintendo when it really started to get good? Wait, this isn't 1989 anymore. It's 2015. We've already had a bunch of, So how many years do I have to wait before we get a King's Knight remake? I think we're long overdue. If only I was kidding. So the preceding clip that you just saw was taken from a review of King's Knight on NES that I posted back in December of last year on this channel. The review itself was originally recorded back in November of 2014 as part of a batch of reviews that I was going to post throughout the following year. So it took a year to get that review up, but it did go up. So 2 years on, it was just a little gag, nothing more. I mean, a King's Knight remake? Are you shitting me? What are the chances, right? Who's really been clamoring for a remake of a mediocre and otherwise forgettable game, even if it was one of Squaresoft's earliest titles? The only reason I knew about the game was because of an old Armake21 video covering the game.
Who thought this was a good idea? One character already dead. Boom!
Originally released in 1986 for the Nintendo Famicom and only getting a localization 3 years later in 1989 for the NES, King's Knight, to summarize 7 minutes worth of rambly review video, is a bland, mediocre, and otherwise forgettable scrolling shooter type thing that contains RPG elements but doesn't really implement them that well. It's not clear on what you're supposed to do early on, and even when you do figure it out, there's a host of other issues that keep it from being anything worth your time. Now, there are fans of King's Knight that swear up and down by this game, and that's cool. I'm just not one of them, but I did entertain the notion of Square Enix possibly releasing a King's Knight remake because that'd be more interesting than whatever Final Fantasy release they've been putting out at the moment. It's not something I wanted or was pining for, but it'd be something different for once. And so here we are. A couple weeks removed from this year's Tokyo Game Show thing, Square Enix announces King's Knight Wrath of the Dark Dragon, a remake of the quote-unquote classic NES title for Android and iOS mobile platforms. That's it, huh? Oh, okay. It's apparently a free-to-play game, so it's free, barring microtransactions that I'm sure will pop their ugly head sooner or later, but in any case, it's free to play, so that's one thing it has going for it. I don't think King's Knight is a game you should be paying for, and I speak as someone who paid the 500 Wii points or $5 to play it on the Wii Virtual Console when it was out on that platform. But other than that, it appears to retain that old style of play from the original King's Knight, which makes sense, I suppose. I was expecting something a little grander, like a proper RPG. I know Square hasn't done one of those in a while, but hopefully it'll play a little better than the Famicom/NES version did. But that's something you'll figure out, because dude, I still have a flip phone. You know, that Samsung Galaxy 2 that I had for a short term wasn't meant to be. It didn't last long. And even if I did have one of those phones on hand, I wouldn't waste the battery life or the bandwidth on this game. Fans of King's Knight rejoice, however. You finally have a follow-up to your favorite RPG shmup hybrid thing, even if it is part of the Final Fantasy 15 universe, whatever that means. Well, I know what it means. It means another 15 games of the same boring crap they've been doing for years now, but that's just me rambling from the outside now. So how long do I have to wait for a remake of 3D World Runner? I actually think that would be kind of awesome in this day and age, especially with all the VR gimmicks coming out and all that. The game was released by Acclaim on the NES here, but it was developed by Square. Now that I think about it, actually, so was Rad Racer. You know, that deserves a bit of an update, a bit of a remake, a bit of the Outrun 2 treatment, so to speak. But then again, considering the modern tastes of Square Enix, that probably wouldn't be very wise, Mr. White. Anyway, King's Knight Wrath of the Dark Dragon comes out in November for various Android and iOS devices. Have fun with those if you'd like. I'm too busy playing Dragon Warrior 2 to care for a remake of a mediocre title. Oh, and on an unrelated note, this Mega Battle game looks like ass. If this is supposed to be next gen, then I don't think I want to be part of that gen. So Xbox One and PS4 owners, have fun come 2017.
And he does. Bye-bye, Toby. Squaresoft said you have to die!